budget, and I think we have some documents here. Do you want to present them?
I'd love to.
Okay, one looks, this here.
Yes.
Oh,
The document,
yes.
okay.
So this was what you had proposed for language. We talked about making some slight modifications. And this is what we hope is the final.
We hope.
Okay.
Which will, okay, that was the words, which
May
include,
Or
right,
others.
Or
whichever.
others. Is
okay.
that good?
All right, yeah, great.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for.
coming back?
No,
Don't let me out of the building.
Okay, do you want to go through?
Which one do you want?
Doing them in this order, or would you like to go?
Why didn't we go here? I just saw this on top and it seemed like that would be great to close that
I
out.
think the people who work with us are so helpful to make sure that we have everything in front of us. So, as you can see on here,
As I said-
there's a lot of the word Senate in here.
Yeah.
But there's also some conversations to have,
All
so,
right.
yeah, 329 was, we started that conversation earlier this morning. And I just didn't, we put it back on here to see if there was any conversation, and I think this is more representative with the area
I think that we stated our position, we're just waiting for a response.
response. Okay, and then we'll hold on to that. Unless
You haven't had a chance to do this.
I have had one email back and forth that I need to.
Understand all of that.
All right.
All right, so what, I just want to make sure I understand, and so that's Representative Wood to state. You feel that a compromise was already arrived at by, out of the 9 positions, 5, you had flexibility, and 4, or the other way around. 5 were dedicated to the DS, and the 4 were available.
To use wherever the agency wanted to use them.
All right. I need to make a note of that because my memory is like Swiss cheese. So 5 to DS and 4. Adult.
And they've already been accounted for elsewhere,
Yeah, it's just a matter of,
if that's comfortable.
but I guess we haven't had a chance, so we'll come back to that one.
Well, that's why we kept it on there, because I don't want to forget to. So, under the current year section, so these are underneath the C section, 101, the out of state, that we're fine with. We're fine with the carry forward. We're fine with 104 on the environmental conservation ARPA piece, right? Now we come down to 105 is, we are, the updated language, we're good with, we just wanted to remove that word infrastructure, and I think Representative Shy had the most feelings in reaction to that.
That was just under the contingent appropriations. I felt that if we just allowed infrastructure investments under contingent, we were limiting ourselves to things that were infrastructure, as opposed to there may be other things that we want to put on a contingent list that aren't infrastructure. It's, and then the second
Traditionally
thing,
known as infrastructure.
right.
And what did it mean?
So infrastructure is covered in everything here, and it can be, that it just felt very narrow for the contingent. If we wanted to do a revolving loan fund or something, you couldn't put it under contingent because it is an infrastructure, for example. And so it just seemed to make sense to eliminate that one word. The rest of the whole.
So it makes the investment a little.
The contingent appropriations can be broader.
Than just.
Because we even had something, I think the Senate even had like a revolving loan fund or something as contingent, and that wouldn't be an infrastructure investment necessarily, because it's, so. Just seemed like the
Where's all our staff?
Agreed.
Sarah,
Sarah,
Maria.
you're behind. Where's Stephanie?
She's, I think, working on something
She's
over
just-
at JFO.
I
Yeah.
just want to make sure she's
Yeah.
seen this language.
I don't know if she's had a chance to actually
No, we-
read it because we just barely sent it around. So
All right, I know that she's been working very closely with the administration and everybody on that, so, I think it just seems like it, it's, gets a little bit
We'll all be-
less limiting than, for other infrastructure investments.
Well, doesn't preclude them.
No, it limits them, is what you're.
No, we're broadening it.
The current language limits
That's what
it.
I'm-
Yeah, I understood what you were saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We don't have page 2 of this, so it's
No,
kind of hard to
it's-
see, because page 2 actually says more about the whole fund and the uses for the fund.
All right.
So
So,
it's, we should probably put them in pages.
I understand exactly what you're trying to do and that like, making investments only limited to infrastructure, is perhaps more limiting than it would be and might serve us well in the future.
But we know that how long legislators can go on about just one word and what it means.
But it's really about the contingent appropriations piece, not the other piece of that,
Right.
just that section.
So,
Okay.
so we're good with the cash fund, right, updated piece, if it's to going from the 3 to 2,
Mhm.
okay? And maybe some of inside, we're gonna
I think
continue
the
to work
folks in
on.
finance and management will be very happy with
Yeah.
that, because they seem to feel that.
Are they?
I don't know, they're probably
Watching.
observing, they'll probably be texting momentarily.
But we'll work on, there's some parts to the piece, but we'll continue work, but the actual structure is
Okay,
fine.
great.
All right, and then you see we've got Senate Capital Affordability Advisory Committee and the COVID paid leave, which was created section and moved to House F2. So that's municipal energy revolving fund transfer, pretty good. All right, and 115, great. So that, we're in a good place with all of that. Then we have here the insurance, that's gonna be, why don't we hold on to that one? We come back, because the other things are fine. For those that are counting at home, that's 125, 127, 131.2 on the school construction. Then we've got a couple of questions on the rate study that was struck and the assistive community care services is struck, and we'll let Representative, sorry, Stephanie, I'm sorry. Teresa talk about those. Do you want to do that right now?
Sure.
Okay. The next person up, I was just checking to make sure he was here.
Okay, so this is sort of tied to the Medicaid rate construct as well. And one of the things that we just wanted to have maybe a brief conversation about is the overall goals on adult day programs. So the House's overall goals is to try to ensure their sustainability, which I'm sure is something that is shared. One of the things that we think is important to look at is how they are reimbursed, how they are paid. And part of the issue with payments is it's done on attendance based. So with older Vermonters and people with significant medical issues, attendance is not always, predictable. And much like some of our, what I would call social infrastructure, there needs to be a predictability to those, some or all of the revenue source that pays for this service to be available to Vermonters. And so what we were asking for is the departments in collaboration with the adult day services to think about how a payment methodology might be changed from what they have now, which is solely based on attendance. And so that's really what we're trying to get at here. And I think honestly, in order for the adult day programs to be sustainable on a long-term basis, there needs to be some change in the payment methodology that exists now. The language that was struck is in the struck section on page 10. So that's what we were trying to get at with this language.
On page 10, the struck.
Struck language.
Struck language.
Let's see. I'm creeping over. Um, I think our feeling was, so oftentimes this comes down to work that can be done anyway, within the examination of how payments are, methods are used. And so, it was, if you look at it, it's a matter of, a lot of it has to do with just the level of reimbursement and funding. And that's why we raised the 21 to 25. Because we did have some study about that. I have said for years that the way in which we're paying on attendance is a problem because we don't have whole beds like we do in nursing homes. So that if somebody can't make it because of their health or the public transit ride doesn't materialize, they're out and their fixed costs continue. So when I was looking at this, it was like, is it something that we should expect them to do without mandating a study and looking at the stability and the reimbursement of something that's really part of, to me, a key part of our choices for care. And so a lot of times we want to do study, but we're going to have our motto is if we don't have the money, we study it. And part of this is it really just come down to us in terms of what level of support financially we want to provide to the providers here. And so it's with that thinking that we were saying let's not do another study. I'm been a champion of adult day programs for a long time. I have.
Me too.
I have actually our director is in Lamoille County as well. So, and we've seen them go out and we've been very concerned about the sustainability. So we're just saying this is something that we thought that could be done without that kind of instruction. And ultimately it's gonna come back to money.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, Senator. I want to say that these conversations have been ongoing for 3 years now, and it hasn't happened. And I think that while increasing the rates is going to be certainly part of the solution, the fact of the matter is that there's a fraction of the people attending adult day services now than there was pre-COVID. And so if we're going to sustain them, there's a certain amount of infrastructure, as you were just saying, that's going to be required. It hasn't happened. This has been an issue for a while now. Despite our conversations with the department about having this kind of review done, it hasn't happened. So I guess
We're hoping for
asking
reconsideration.
We're asking you to
Report of last
reconsider
year's
that. Yeah.
I'm not unsympathetic with the situation that it's to what extent and I sometimes wonder to what extent they have to instruct them to do what we would want them to do, period. It's just part of administering programs. And we've been very concerned, and one would hope that, the Commissioner Dale would be very concerned about the number of facilities that have gone out of business and how to get them reestablished. And I think we put money
Well,
in
we-
language in the past, and so that was
Yeah.
some of our deliberation around, do we really need another study?
Yeah, I mean, you can call it something else if you want.
It's,
I think that we have all of the same things that you just spoke of, Senator, and those, there have, let's just, call it like it is. I mean, despite our efforts to try to reopen in some sites, we, are not having the stellar record of that, and we had 5 programs close, and this is kind of like all about, we need to save what we have left and try to focus on rebuilding in those places that we don't have, and developing some sort of stable payment mechanism, I think is worth them doing.
Oh, yeah,
It's right there.
I know.
I would think that,
Well, what, we can look at the language, you're asking us to reconsider. I see that it's a couple of things, one of which is, we increased the rate to 25, and which we thought added more capacity, more, money, to support. And we've had language in the past, and, I think, was there other language somewhere that, I'm just trying to think, it's hard to memorize this. This is, the other part, and I know we did it with homeless shelters, and that was to, identify areas, and I thought wasn't it Barry that shut down and people were going to Lamoille? And so
and
if,
Rutland is, there is, people interested in
Some interest in
opening,
Rutland,
yes,
yeah.
but they're most interested, not in language, they're most interested in, are we gonna increase the rates?
so,
And they haven't, I'm just saying, reconsider for the reasons that I've asked.
I guess the other thing that's part of this is not only the rates, but the extent to which we are, the administration and the department, is looking at the very areas where the programs went out of existence, and to get something reestablished. If in fact they're part of, our continuum of services to keep people in their communities, they're caring for a high level of acuity. It's not, it's not like a senior center that you go to for socialization. They're doing, a lot of care.
A lot
Yeah,
more.
medication,
Medication, bathing, memory
foot
care,
care, and
yes,
so
yeah.
forth, and many of them are need assistance because they're in wheelchairs. So we'll look at the language. I would like, and I hate to get into instructing, but I really would like to have, if we look at some language, we also try to do what we've done in the past, and that is how they work with local agent, I don't know whether it's AAAs or whatever, but to get programs reestablished. And because I think we can try to stabilize those that are in existence, but we should really look at the
But there's connecting
the
services that are there.
service availability throughout the state.
Right, places that have lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we agree.
So.
Take a look.
All right, okay, we'll look at it. But our view is oftentimes we ask for a study when the matter is, we just don't have the money to appropriate, and I don't wanna do anything like that.
Right, this also, I mean, this doesn't have to be that, I guess what I'm saying. I think that there's a way to take what it is that we have appropriated for this service and to make it a more stable funding source for the
Right.
providers.
And my question then is, in your testimony from Adult Days and from Dale, which would, are there limitations? Years ago, they said that the federal rules didn't permit, for example, paying for when people are not in attendance. They couldn't do like they did for long-term care. The other thing they couldn't do is in long-term care, in the rate setting, we recognize capital a cost and improvements. And so if they needed to update their kitchen or they needed a new, bath, or all those capital expenditures never get recognized. And that was part of just some of the federal rules. So I'm wondering, did you have any testimony that indicates that they have the flexibility around the methodology that they're using?
We did not have any we did not have any testimony that, that said that they could not be looking at this. I mean, there are things, they have some ideas, but they haven't really kind of come to fruition, frankly. I mean, I think some of this is again, based on workforce and having the wherewithal to get some of this stuff done. And the department places an importance on the adult day programs, don't get me wrong. I mean, they understand their linkages to the community and keeping people in the community. It needs to be elevated if we're going to save this community resource.
Okay. And well, I guess we need to understand, sometimes we've been told, you can give it to us, but we don't have the horsepower and we don't have the capacity to do it. Did you get any feedback from?
I did not.
Let's see if we can, because there are times when we've gotten feedback, you can ask us to do it, but even if we wanted to, sometimes it's not a matter of wanting to, but I don't think that's the case here.
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the next one,
That's the move, yeah.
yeah, well, we're a little reluctant, and I think we got testimony from the agency in terms of, in the letter or the memo they sent, in terms of moving appropriations at this point. I will be perfectly honest, I think the Agency of Human Services needs to be reorganized, and it's way too big. And I am prepared, and I have already told, because we had a reorg of DCF, and it's like, it's not just DCF. We have got such a huge healthcare agenda with the complexity, and we're gonna be talking about some more of that, and CMS and all the requirements that are coming down, our funding possibilities. I would like to move to create an agency that deals with healthcare administration and not expect one administrator to be responsible for the half of state government. And I think it's a disservice to the agency, because the general public equates the agency of ag with the agency of human services, and the scope and the complexity and the money and how the world has changed from when that agency got put together in the early 70s. And I predate the agency, so you may too, Teresa.
No.
All right. Well,
We'll just agree to be kind.
Sorry.
well,
I go back a ways, but not quite that far.
and I think the time has come, and it's not moving the deck chairs around. It is what is realistic in terms of a scope of accountability.
I disagree.
And how you can hold someone accountable. And you can't hold them accountable if you've given them a level of, and I know that everybody says, well, it connects to this and that, and so I'm back to John Muir said, everything is hitched to everything else, and if you carry it to extreme, then everything should be managed out of the governor's office. So I would like to, or this not move forward on this, because I would really like to look at all of how we are managing these programs, the attention that we're giving, and looking at some really significant structural changes, not only the DCF as it came up with the childcare piece, but with so much of what we're doing with our healthcare delivery and our how we support services. So I would say that hopefully we could move something forward in a much more expansive and substantial way, and this would be all part of looking at that. And
And I think
that's my agenda for.
definitely a good partnership with that.
And so I wanna say that's one of my things on my to-do list. When we said, and DCF said, just please, we can't reorganize on top of everything we're managing. We can't even get grants out now. And that's why I'm trying to be sensitive to how much administrators can tackle at one time.
You've been at this reorganization.
I know.
Services now for a decade.
But every year, it just reaffirms that we've got a structure that has outgrown its home. And I mean, I remember when Elmo Sassarosy administered Medicaid out of his, file drawer. It was, are you on public assistance, yes or no? And are you in a nursing home, yes or no? And that was it. That's it. So it was much more limited in scope, and obviously, what we have today is huge, and the complexity and the system. So that's why we really would like to make this part of a much larger discussion. And I hope you're like to be on that journey.
I would definitely invested in it, for sure.
Okay. Well, you play a critical role
Yes.
in any of the kind of reorganization as it relates to how things have evolved. Well, anyway, sorry to go down memory lane.
Well, and sometimes it's important.
Wow.
I think we have something up on the EMS. We did that,
Oh.
312.
That was the language.
Oh,
I
yes,
just
the
did that.
language, that you brought back.
And then let's see, this.
The peer support, we
Yeah.
that was the liability. and-
Right.
and-
Yeah, when we
I think
checked in, we're good.
Yeah.
for that. And then the crop damage, well, of course, that's terrific. And then the technical correction into the transportation reversion piece, we're fine. And then underneath the workforce, I know that we started down the lane of looking at the workforce language that was struck and some of the other things, and we had the workforce bill that was in the budget now that Representative Shai is.
As
gonna-
opposed to S11 that never was.
Exactly.
Right.
Representative.
But now it's all over the place,
Yeah.
that 484 is in parts and pieces.
So Representative Markov has said that he's now figured out a way to be able to create the bill, not have to report it and or conference on it. So he may stick to this
This is
pattern.
very
So at this point, we've got a few things in.
Representative Marcos is smart.
He gets about
And
that.
not only that, but we asked him to
Not
do
only
it that
very
way.
likable, huh?
And we insisted he do it.
Right,
So we've got a few here that we agree with, but we didn't go any further down that line.
Senator Clarkson said she needed to talk to me
About
about
something.
workforce, about it.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think she needs to talk to you about a bill that's working its way through or whatever language.
Oh,
okay.
It's not,
I
It's
think,
not
no.
yours.
So,
obviously, it's
no,
not
those
related
were
to
all
something,
yours,
yeah.
right.
so we didn't go any further down the workforce. Representative Shai is gonna take a real deep look at the whole workforce bill and the pieces where you struck, and she's gonna come back with a bigger picture all around that workforce. So we stopped there. We agreed with those three.
Okay.
So I think that takes us about off this page, except for back up here, we didn't,
Research.
yes. And if that is gonna require.
A rewrite.
And we also have
Because we
this.
had a communication from the treasurer's office and,
Yes.
and so the language you put in, your bill,
Bill,
and we accepted it, and now.
now there's
Then we
something,
gotta-
I got a little tweaked, and now there's something else about it that I think we have someone in the room with your permission that might be the best person to
So,
hear from us.
We heard from the treasurer,
Mhm.
and then, so we need to have our most current and make sure that everybody who's got an interest
Well,
in this has reviewed
Has
it.
reviewed it, even when I've asked and they said, oh, it's fine, well, then things just move along, and that was old news.
Referring to Chris Rose's
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we wanna-
if he's willing to come up into the hot seat.
Chair.
You can sit in the little one.
Madam Chair, I prefer the view from the back bench. As Chris,
Don't let it go to your head.
I never would.
My mother would say, don't be too full of yourself.
For the record, Chris from Joint Fiscal, as Chair Lanfer mentioned, the House is putting forth some technical corrections to replace sections E108, E108.1, and E108.2 in the Senate version. I'm not sure if this was handed out or
I
not.
think it
Yeah.
is,
Okay,
right
it's
here.
11
Yes.
pages.
Yes.
We're not going to read all 11, but
Yeah.
the yellow areas that are highlighted here draw attention to what was substantively changed in this language. And anywhere you see the phrase active state employees highlighted, in the Senate's language, that was followed by the phrase who are not eligible for Medicare. Subsequently, it came to our attention that that particular phrasing could have some adverse unintended consequences with our current OPEB benefits, which enroll retired members in Medicare, and then we provide state wraparound coverage. And that particular phrasing could have prohibited that arrangement and led to significant increases in our liabilities. So these highlighted areas that say active state employees, that reflects the language that was already in the House version and just removes that phrase who are not eligible for Medicare. On page 2, line 19 and 20, that proposed change, the Senate had mentioned the 2 state employee unions by name, and Legislative Council would prefer to just reference those 2 state employee unions without specific names in case the names of those unions were to change in the future.
That wasn't in your language.
We identified the specific organization.
Yeah,
It was in the House language, or did we change that?
I would have to go back.
I thought your Gov Oxford gave you the language.
Correct.
Oh.
And then I think it was
This was,
tweaked after?
I think this was flagged by Legislative Council as a possible concern, just
Okay.
because the names of those entities might change in the
Yeah,
future.
sure.
So, but substantively, it's the same concept. Moving on to
Now, the
page,
administration doesn't think this is necessary anyway.
the administration also told me that they can live with the language. So
Whoever they are.
the commissioner who is not gracing his presence with us today.
I'm sure he's informed.
I'm sure.
The other massive block of highlighted text that begins on page 5, there's very few changes there other than the fact that this was a section that wasn't previously reflected in the budget language, but Legislative Council flagged it as another relevant area of statute that should be amended in this manner. The real meat is on the bottom of page 7, where it explicitly says the Secretary of Administration shall not contract for any group hospital, surgical, medical expense insurance that provides a Medicare Advantage plan or similar plan pursuant to the Social Security Act without the explicit agreement of all employee organizations certified pursuant to chapters 27 and 28.
So including that in the umbrella of what was said.
And this has also been vetted by the treasurer's office.
This latest version built off of what they sent several days ago. I had sent this to them to review this morning, and I have not heard any concerns. So I think there were just some reorganizing that happened, but this is substantially similar to what they proposed. Then moving,
I'm just thinking of the state employees.
that's my understanding.
Okay.
No, I got a note.
You got it? Oh,
Yeah, we all did, I think.
So they're happy.
Then on to page 9, and then page 10, the same language, substantially similar language shows up in both sections, and that pertains to mediation. And this language is consistent with what was reflected in the language that had been in all versions, but has had some minor reorganization to it. And the intent here is to say that as part of the mediation process, a party's last best offer shall not include a proposal to move folks to Medicare Advantage unless that has been explicitly agreed to by the state and the collective bargaining units that represent those employees.
It says both parties, should be all parties. I'm here. Because he's retired and then it's the police and then there's, so I'm just wondering about.
Well, I think it would be both parties that are subject to the mediation. Whoever those parties are.
Would one party consist of multiple unions, for example?
You are getting into the realm of legal questions.
Yeah, that's why I think we're thinking about the both versus all.
We can, well, before we close this out, we need a confirmation from Treasurer's office and then whether we should, whether that,
But should be, yeah.
whether it's both or all or.
So then do it. And
Otherwise, I think we're all
we'll
agreeing
think
that
of this stuff.
we want
this
to
late.
update it.
I will send a note to Ledge Council and the Treasurer's
All right,
office.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
And then in your packet, we have this hospital directed payment program.
I was hoping that we could.
Oh, sorry, did I get another?
No, you did not. So that is the last, I think that is the last thing, which is about right on the timing zone here.
You have to go back on the form?
4:30, I have a place to go, but you know what? This is my priority.
No, let's, please get you out of here when time to spare.
So this was. So this came to our attention, I think it came to your attention, and I believe we both know it enough, but not well enough. But I would Sarah, would you like
At
to?
the hospital directed, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And so this is language that would go with the
This is
memo?
brand new. Yeah.
Correct,
This is brand new language that has not appeared in there, so.
Yep, so the AHS sent this memo over on the opportunity that they're pursuing. They don't, with CMS for hospital directed payments, they don't know yet if they will be able to achieve their goal of being able to pursue this opportunity or get the hospital directed payments. And so they're asking for language that would allow them to use excess receipts authority to increase their global commitment appropriations to accommodate this if they're able to get approval from the federal government for hospital directed payments. So
This would have a very significant financial benefit.
Right, yes, that is my understanding as well.
But it would not, it does not require state resources for
No
the
match.
match.
No state resources
Well,
and
that's sweet.
opportunity.
We like those.
Why would you say number six?
and they'll report back at the JFC meeting, whichever one, I think where they have an update.
On the status of
Yeah.
Right,
achieving the program.
right.
Oh, well, let's
Yeah,
wish
but if
them
we are-
luck. I guess. Did we put that in too?
Right
I'm
on the
sure they're
bottom.
reading
We
it.
put a little heart on the end of our budget.
Yeah, right. Or we could go like, you know, or thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
So the request is to add this language.
Right.
AHS is
AHS
still
is
reviewing the
that.
language,
Oh.
and so we wanted to get you a draft in
Oh.
front of you, and then, think
So
they're
they're
still in
there.
process, so.
So, you know, if there's significant edits from AHS, we'll certainly circle back. But getting the concept out on the table is important.
Waiting for them to confirm.
Waiting for them to confirm as well. But they sent this memo to us.
So Stephanie, does that mean that if they're successful, then we'll see you at joint fiscal?
Maybe.
September and November.
We could add that to the language. I'm just saying.
We're adding good luck.
That's your parting gift on Mardo.
You're right. You get to. All right, so.
All right, so we'll wait on that, but I know that we just want to put this in front of
Sure.
front of us
yeah.
as soon as we're-
No, it's, I hope. that-
because we don't have enough paper.
No, we don't.
So that is all I have at the moment. Is there something?
I was just wondering if Stephanie's had a chance to look at this infrastructure on the cash
Oh,
fund. There was just that one word.
Did we do that? We did that, right?
Do you want to hold her?
I
Do you want to hold
Oh,
Stephanie
for
to be able to
Stephanie.
I
look?
wanted Stephanie to take a look on the blue, the way she wrote it was limiting, how
The
the,
contingent appropriation.
Representative Shy has a thought around that.
We'll just take that for it, because the contingent appropriation.
So it's-
I think it's fine to take the word out. I mean,
that's what we're agreeing to.
Yeah,
All
okay.
boards. But we didn't want until you gave the ultimate.
All right, so that's okay.
Great,
All right,
so
thank you.
that can be closed out.
Okay, that was here.
So then I believe just the adult day studies that we open on the sheet.
I think.
Or-
And number one,
day
day
off,
off,
and
and
the
the
top.
top.
The positions in there. So the-
So this and this. All right, did we make progress?
We did.
So, that's what I want to hear. Or I want to feel it. So speaking of wanting to feel it too, I think at this point, or at least I'm ready for, after our decisions here, is for the larger clean sheet with some grade.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
I'm
ask.
like, okay,
because I
I'm
can't
like,
really
me too.
visualize.
I'm the same way, I'm feeling it, and I'm looking
No,
for my,
I would like to have a sheet that only has the open sections.
we can do both,
And,
right?
and then the other would be.
With a bigger
You can
picture.
You can get both, 'cause when you get the gray one, you get to see your progress, when you get the,
Right.
the non-gray one, you get to see what you still have to do.
I like those.
Dogs.
I want the larger one, so that when I have this moment at 3 o'clock in the morning, did we do that, I have a place to go to look to say, yes, it's done.
Okay, and, we're also, language on ABE.
That
It's
being-
not-
I
Thinking-
need to circle
But
back.
Yeah,
that's another.
We were
Yes.
headed for pictures this morning,
Oh,
and
that's
then
true.
we went on the floor and we were on the floor.
I know, it's just so many things to keep in,
And
but.
I couldn't,
They're on it.
and if I can sit down with him in the morning, I would tell you, I think if we finally got for a place, we have tremendous flexibility in all of these regulations around adult basic education are basically under state control.
So it's self-imposed.
So this is
Oh,
so-
wow, that's what
this is
that's what I thought I was
self-imposed
hearing
limit.
it saying.
And I think what I had portrayed
Well, that's
before
encouraging,
is, and
Yes.
what probably wasn't clear in it, that we've used the test to get into
Right.
maybe other states.
No,
And
Well, I think,
I,
was it Teresa who said, isn't it an oxymoron that you gotta test
To get
it,
in,
the
right.
very service you need?
No, we're putting up barriers for people that we want to help, and that's not a good idea.
so I think.
Well, that's
we're-
really
we're-
encouraging.
Yes.
we're working on
So the other thing that I know that's in the works, I just don't think it's ready, that's on the, is the dispatch language that's being communicated between Senate Government Ops and House Government Ops. We're still working on a response to that, and
Alright.
we'll have to impose some deadlines. It's Thursday, and
I know. Now, our deadline is, needs to be wrapped up next week.
yes,
Wednesday.
earlier than. So we're waiting for, and I think you're right, you know, when we get to a decision, I think on childcare is moving along. And with that, I think we can pretty much look at all of the money, there's like things like in the Medicaid rates and things like this, and a lot of the other money, when we know where childcare is gonna land in the bigger picture, so much, as you know, it's gonna fall into place.
I think you'll be able to do
I think we're
all
going
the good things that, on those rates,
to,
to be
I hope,
honest.
so, yep.
Um,
And although I've left Representative Brennan and Representative Harrison in charge of appropriations to move bills, I'm not too sure what they're up to now.
They're still doing that?
I think they're
They're
done
done
for the day. But I'll
Have a
need to
good
go
day.
check in to see what the rest of tomorrow is.
All right, well, thank you.
So we'll see
So
you
we're on at
tomorrow.
9?
We have
9 tomorrow?
Nine. Okay.
Okay, and then sometime probably in the next hour or so, can we get a new big copy, shaded and one unshaded of just what's left?
That would be awesome.
Oh, that's
Okay.
great.
Thank
I
you.
was sitting here thinking
I've
the
got a-
same thing.
Okay, good, because I was about ready to like, all right, I'm ready to shift.
What?
Oh, no, I meant shift
Shift.
gears, shift. No. Shift. Oh, boy.